Well, I tell you, the gentleman we have joining us doesn't need any prompting on talk radio. He is the longest continual fill-in host for Rush Limbaugh, 20 years. I was in college listening to Walter Williams, 20-plus years, and I've read some of his books. I've seen clips of his documentary shown on PBS, Suffer No Fools. He's just an amazing individual. He has a new book coming out next month. Everybody should pre-order at Amazon.com, American Contempt for Liberty. Comes out May 1st, a strike, I guess, at the Socialist. I'm not going to go through all of his lawyer degrees and PhDs in economics and all the rest of it, because it would take too long to go over all his degrees. But I got to say, and I said it earlier, I like it when he hosts the Rush Limbaugh show better than Rush. It's more hardcore, but I'm going to quit kissing his butt and just get right to the actual meat and potatoes. We have Martin Luther King coming out to paraphrase in the 60s, and I agree with it. We should judge someone on the character of their deeds. In fact, here's the quote. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by color of their skin, but by the content of their character. How did we get from there, something that's so veritas, Dr. Williams, to the inverse where everything is about the color or the sex, and with these hate laws, other people are more protected, and the Democratic Party has just gone race crazy and admits they're trying to divide and conquer to the point of just absurd. You're the expert on this. Are they winning? Are they losing? Where is this insanity going, Doctor?
Well, I'm not sure whether they're winning. They're fairly strong, but I think that what has happened is that after the civil rights movement, people found that they can hustle, they can become poverty pimps, they can make a lot of money. Al Sharpton, he gets a lot of money, or Jesse Jackson, and I think I don't know how wise it is of us to ask Al Sharpton to go out and get a real job, and make much less money. It's he just makes money on hustling and exploiting whatever problems that might exist among blacks and whites. But I think one of the things that goes unnoticed and is not said enough, and that is black Americans as a group have made the greatest gains over some of the highest hurdles in the shortest period of time than any other racial group in the history of mankind. And okay, so what's the evidence of that? Well, if you add up all the income that black Americans earn each year and thought of us just as a nation, independent nation, we would be the 17th or richest nation on the face of this earth. There are few black Americans who are among the world's richest people. There was one black American who was the head of the world's mightiest military, Colin Powell. And some black Americans are some of the world's most famous personalities. Now, the significance of this is that in 1865, neither a slave nor a slave owner would have believed that these kind of gains would have been possible in just a little bit over a century. And as such, it speaks to the intestinal fortitude of a people, but just as importantly, it speaks to the greatness of a nation, because these kind of gains would not have been possible anywhere in the world except the United States of America. Now, just because these gains have been made, it doesn't mean that they're not major problems, but the problems are not civil rights problems. That is, many people look at the problems that in many black communities as civil rights problems, and the civil rights struggle is over and is won. That is, at one time, black Americans did not have the constitutional guarantees of everybody else. Now we do. But the fact that civil rights problems are over does not mean that they're not problems, but they're not civil rights problems. And the point is that if we view them as civil rights problems, the solutions will be elusive forever.
Well, that's right. And it seems like the Democratic poverty pimps, the Democratic Party, they don't want their old paradigm to end. And so now they're just hyping up any slight they can to create division, to create hate. They're promoting all this, what I call reverse racism. It just goes on. And it's cartoonish when you see it. But it's not just with black folks it's happening. The political entitlement of how they're trying to make women think that men somehow have, tried to screw them over, or that anybody with any money is bad, and that capitalism is bad. It just seems like there's a death wish for the country coming out of the whole Soros-funded combine. What do you think's behind this as an economist and a lawyer, Mr. Williams?
Well, I always say follow the money, and so there's a lot of money and a lot of jobs to be had for people who are involved in this hustle, and I think that when you look, you were mentioning you used the term cartoonish, and it is indeed cartoonish. That is, when you find these these marches around the country as a result of the shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, or the shooting in New York, a black man shot by police. And if you say, well, look, if policemen became angels tomorrow, it will not have done very much for the murder of blacks. That is, there's an average of 7,000 blacks murdered each year. And in places like Chicago, it's sometimes some years it's been one black is murdered per day, and it's not the Klan coming and they're doing that. And then there's other cartoonish type things that is, as people are blaming discrimination for many problems that blacks face. But however, if you look at the illegitimacy rate among blacks, that is 75% of black babies are born out of wedlock. Now I'm not a prude, but if it's not the best start on life if you're born, you find your mother is 16, your grandmother's 30, and you'll know who or where your father is. That's not a very good start.
As you know, you're 4 to 5 times more likely to be in prison or on drugs, and the Democratic Party promotes that. I believe to create a system of dependency. And I mean, is it not the modern plantation? These places like Chicago and other areas are more like a reservation.
That's right. You're absolutely right. But the thing that people don't have very little appreciation for is that all of this is new among black people. That is, in 1940, the illegitimacy rate among blacks was 13 or 14%.
Wasn't it lower than even whites?
Oh, well, in the 19-teens, the illegitimacy rate among black teenagers was less than that among white teenagers.
So now it's been totally inverted.
Oh, that's right. I have in my book Race and Economics, and I give these statistics. And in 1870s, 1880s, 75% of black kids lived in two-parent families, and in some cities higher. I'm talking about cities like Detroit, Chicago, Philadelphia, and New York. As a matter of fact, in New York, in Harlem, New York, in New York's Harlem, 85% of black kids lived in two-parent families in 1925. Now, today, it's around 30% of black kids live in two-parent families. So the point that I'm making is that much of the pathology that we're seeing among black Americans is entirely new, and moreover, I believe that it's the result of the welfare state.
Well, I mean, it's got to be undoubtedly, and you go through all the statistics as an economist in your books, the Democrats have to know this then. What is the end-game strategy? Where do you think they're wanting to take people? Because the same paradigm that we've seen with them, quote, helping blacks with the Great Society has now been deployed to every other community, and we see the same slide towards illegitimacy, drugs, crime, the thug culture. I mean, where did this come from? I mean, I know MTV...
Well, you mentioned it, the spread of this culture. When Patrick Moynihan was writing about the decline of the black family in the 1960s, the illegitimacy rate among black Americans at that time was close to 30%. The illegitimacy among whites today is where it was for blacks in 1965. That is, the illegitimacy rate among whites is over 30% today.
It's all going the same direction.
Yeah, we're all going to say, and it's the welfare state. I mean, that is, look, if I don't care whether an economist is a conservative or a liberal, but he'll tell you that if you tax something, you're going to get less of it, and if you subsidize something, you're going to get more of it. And what we've been doing is subsidizing slovenly behavior. That is, there's no cost. There's very little cost for people to engage in slovenly behavior. Does a girl has a baby out of wedlock? She doesn't pay the really cost. It's the taxpayer. That is, the government will give them a subsidized housing, food stamp, welfare, et cetera, and so it makes it very cheap to behave in self-destructive ways.
What do you think's behind this clear social engineering?
Well, I think that it gets people's votes. I mean, any politician talking the way that I am would get run out of town. He would not get voted. He would not. Well, any politician, forget the study, the material, these things I'm saying about race, but just any politician who would promise, who would act to uphold and defend the United States Constitution, he would get run out of town by the American people. Because increasingly, and it's sad to say, increasingly, Americans are having more and more contempt for the United States Constitution.
Wow. Walter E. Williams is our guest. What do you think the legacy of Obama is going to be? I mean, I really was concerned about the centralization of power under Clinton and Bush. And now, Dr. Williams, we see the borders totally wide open, paying with vouchers to bring the illegal children in, above the law, power plants getting shut off outside of law, our military being put under UN, NATO command outside of law, Obama ignoring FOIA requests, the IRS not getting in trouble for stuff that makes Nixon look like an angel. I mean, is this not real totalitarianism? How would you, as a political scientist, quantify what we've now become? Because I expect the Republicans, when they get in power, to not be as vitriolic against America as much, but still they like power. I mean, I fear the direction, the trajectory of this country. What do you think Obama's legacy is going to be?
Well, I predicted in 2008 in one of my columns, and I was predicting that Obama administration would be a failed administration, a failed president, just like Jimmy Carter's is. But some people are saying that Obama's beginning to make Jimmy Carter look good. But the point is that Obama is following a trend in our country, and he's just accelerated that trend.
That's right.
That is, you found during the Bush administration, you found all kinds of ignoring the Constitution. You found the No Child Left Behind. You found the prescription drugs and all these other programs that happened during the Bush administration. So we've been on this path away from the Constitution, away from personal liberty for quite a while. And so the real challenge is, the real question for the future of our country is, can we reverse it? And there's some question whether it's reversible.
Let me ask you this question. I want to get into your new book, American Contempt for Liberty. If we don't, studying history as you've done, if we don't reverse the course we're on, how long do you think this country has left? Because it's degenerating fast.
Well, I don't know, but people have asked me, what can we do? And I asked them, well, are Americans anyway basically different as human beings from the Romans, from the French, from the Spanish, from the Portuguese, from the British? Now, these are great empires of the past, powerful empires of the past, but they went down the tubes. And so, and they went down the tubes for precisely the kind of things that we're doing, that is bread and circuses, big government spending programs. So there's a real question whether Americans will find a different fate. You find a country just like Argentina. Argentina is a basket case, but in 1940
Exactly.
or in the 1930s, it was among the 10 richest countries in the world.
It was absolutely, and then they got into big government, they got into deficits, and now it's a hellhole.
That's right. They got into socialism. A lot of the decline, it was accelerated during the Perones, and socialism is when socialism takes over, a country does not have much hope.
The saying was as rich as an Argentine, and now people don't even know what that means. It is so sad to see them wreck this. And I saw a statistic today that even the middle class is shrinking fast, and that even the ultra wealthy are paying so many taxes that they're having trouble saving. And then France now has 100% tax, Forbes reported, on their wealthier people, forcing them to leave the country. What are the socialists think's going to happen when they're all gone, Dr. Williams?
Well, the rather remarkable thing for throughout our entire history, we've been the place where people have run to avoid high taxes, to avoid oppression. Now, people are leaving the United States. That is, wealthy money
Record
is
numbers.
leaving the United States, going to the islands, banking in other countries, and going to Liechtenstein and other places to put their money. And so we're going in the direction. I don't know at what speed, but we're going in the direction